a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. As social media dwelling town fans partake in a chorus of never forget where you've come from, it seems somewhat ironic that Take That will be gracing the Little Mix end next summer. In light of another defeat, here asking if love ain't here anymore, I'm Matt, and with me today, all he does each night is pray for a town win, Neil, and wanting pressing back for good is Richard Kosmala.
Wow, how much time you spent on that, Matt. Beautiful.
Too long.
Dearly me. Good evening.
So, after that performance at Leicester, guys, how deep is your love?
It's never ending tonight.
That's the last Take That reference I've got.
It's interesting for me because, you know, obviously we've had a few beatings so far this season in case anyone's been on another planet. But this one hurt me most, and I always think a good gauge is a couple of days after because I can kind of brush the other ones off, but this really hurt and stung, to be honest with you. I think, we took lead against Everton for a minute and whatever it's worth, but on Saturday, we had the platform, we had the start, you know, the Pule Boo boys, I could sense were kind of, wow, this is turning, you know, a little bit. I thought, this is it, we're in with a chance, and the goal summed us up when we conceded the first, and I walked out of there thinking we'd blown a big opportunity and pretty down, to be honest with you, and struggling a little bit now to get back up again, but that's what I've got to do.
I'm going to tell you my Leicester story, and then I'm going to sit with my arms folded and my bottom lip out. So set off from my house over here, picked up a couple of friends, so we set off about 11:15, plenty of time, couple of hours to Leicester. Popped down the motorway, arrived in Leicester, or just the start of Leicester, at 2:55, hit excruciatingly bad traffic, touch of food poisoning for me as well on the way down, so I was feeling a little bit under the weather. Stuck in traffic for an hour and 10 minutes, arrived at somewhere where we can park at 3 o'clock, missed our goal, arrived in my seat 18 minutes past 3, 45 seconds later, Leicester have scored. I wanted to go home at that point, I'll be honest.
You probably should have done.
One interesting point with that first Leicester goal is that at the time of the game, our angle was bad, we're in the corner, but at the time I looked at it and went, is he offside, Iheanacho? And I watched it back on TV, obviously you watch it back, you slow it down, and it's difficult to tell. When Vardy plays the ball, you can see I can post a picture on Twitter if anyone's that bothered, but you can see that Iheanacho's foot is in a different shade of the pitch, because the pitch has got, you know, your light green, dark green colours. And to me, he looked like he was at 1 foot offside. You can't blame the lines when they're running at warp speed strikers like Vardy and Iheanacho, aren't they? But one thing I thought was quite typical of the way things are going is that we don't get the decision. We're not especially a lucky side at the minute. We've made a good start, and then that happens. And one thing is interesting is it never gets picked when it's against us. It never seems to get picked up later. You know, match of the day goals on Sunday. It just seems to get brushed over, Kosi.
No, well, you've got to remember, Harry Maguire was reffing the game on Saturday, so we weren't going to get absolutely anything all afternoon. It would do my head in. It's incredible to see a guy who's had a good World Cup thinking all of a sudden he's, Billy big time. And, well, I think he's ready for a move to Man United because he's dispelling all the traits that you need from a Man United centre-half, just arguing with the ref and everything. But, I'm glad I've got that out of the system. But, disappointing. But again, all 3 goals are theirs. Errors from us, but absolute clinical. There's no more certain when they broke. You knew that Iheanacho were going to knock it past the post, whether we were offside or not. Beautiful, clinical. The goal from Maddison, absolute top finish, as Paul Merson would say. And the end, Jamie Vardy, he's gone round Zanka. That's the just thing that we don't have, and we'll probably touch on it later on. But the moment we had, we knew old Lauren scored a goal for us. Massive moment, and then 2 minutes later we were dead, and absolutely gutted. And I just thought, and what was worrying for me, that I don't think they're quote Mr. Merson, a top side, but they looked head and shoulders above us, especially with the finishing, and quite worrying really.
Obviously I missed the first 18 minutes, but until they scored, apparently we've done
actually
quite
missed
well.
Our best spell.
Yeah, I've missed the best spell. I should have just gone home, shouldn't I, at that point? But
100%.
But for me, in the first half, there were little signs where we looked all right. Depoitre started ahead of Mounier. Some have been calling for that. Depoitre, I thought he had a pretty good first half. His hold-up play was pretty good. And then
He should have walked off with a brace on Saturday. No two ways about it.
Yeah, that second half, the thing is, he doesn't even get a shot away. It gets stuck between his feet, and it allows Harry Maguire a little bit of retribution for last September, doesn't it? It's disappointing because it's another game where we could arguably have got something had had things fallen for us, and it just doesn't seem to. Again, we sit here, don't we, every week with a little violin out, and we just seem to say,
I knew we were going to miss though, and if you remember the back of that Chelsea game, I had a feeling he could score. You remember that? You know, the goal obviously scored when it was with Rudiger, when he got there and he smashed it. There were anticipations. I thought he could do it. Come on, you know. But on Saturday, I just thought I knew he was going to miss that. I don't know. I think it's just the confidence from us all. We're just desperate for a bit of run. Yeah, we're just desperate for that win, that bit of luck, that that buoyancy that we could get off something positive. And yeah,
the thing is, we've started, haven't we? We've started a goal early doors, best possible start you can have. What were we 3-4 minutes in when we scored, and then I mean, what's happening on their equaliser? God only knows. I mean, I know Derm has put his hand up and said, "I apologise, it's my fault," but why? Why is Lossell the only Town player in our half from our corner?
The deepest player back as well, I think, when Iheanacho put the ball in the net, Kachunga as well.
Yeah, he was. But to get caught like that against a team that are notoriously good on the break, when you got paid, I mean, Vardy, that's what Vardy is. Vardy is your man who gets you on break, outruns you, and 9 times out of 10 he scores. Obviously, this time he's made it for Iheanacho, but...
Don't you think it's ironic, though, when we've been crying out for positivity and, getting forward and things, but after 19 minutes, you just kind of use your brain slats, isn't it? Because part of me wants to, inside our thinking, well, hang on a minute, Kosi, you've been crying out for a positive play, we all have, and so I can't really knock that, we're going forward, but then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I'm looking at that clock, it says 19, not 91, and we mentioned it about Stoke, didn't we, how naive we were with 10 minutes to go, bombing Lossell forward. Again, we don't help ourselves. We haven't had the look, but we're not very smart, are we?
We completely switched off. It was schoolboy stuff, and you don't expect that at this level. And to be fair, you can't get away with it at this level. There's teams that are far better than us, and like the most frustrating thing is the fact that it's Leicester, and that is what they do. That is exactly what they play for. Is getting you on the break. They've done it against the teams that are a lot better than us. So to get caught out like that when you've got your own corner is just criminal, in my opinion.
After 19 minutes, though, Neil, it's not as if like we're
you're not chasing.
Not like a cup match or something unbelievable, really. But anyone watching that think that's a team heading to the Championship. But
so Town seem to have a habit of doing this, Neil. Is we get a corner and we make it a dangerous situation for ourselves, and it's not the first time. And I'm quite pleased Brentford seem to take a little bit of heat off us with the goal they conceded. If you've seen that one, if you haven't seen that one, have a look at it. The guy passes it straight to a Derby player and they run up the pitch and score. It wasn't quite that bad, but again, it's the same. I'm pretty much going to sit here and say the same things as I did last week, and I'm going to get boring, to be honest. We've lined up in a 3-4-3, which I quite like, I'll be honest. But it doesn't work when your front three are so static and they want the ball to the feet. It was just, there's the one occasion where there's been a little bit of movement and Depoitre's gone through one-on-one and missed that chance. But again, Van La Parra's not had a great game. He's done okay, but not had a great game.
It just shows you fine margins, though, because you've got Depoitre going through on that, doesn't score, and then within minutes, Diakabi's on, makes an awful mistake, gives a free kick away, they score. So from possibly 2-1 up, you're 2-1 down, and from then on, it's a long road back.
Touched like a cement mixer was that one, wasn't it? But my point is with the three, from half-time onwards, Leicester came out and you could tell within the first minute they were up for this. It's 1-1, they're up for it, and we just didn't look like we wanted to be out there for spells in that game. And what was really frustrating is you could see gradually Town retreating a couple of yards deeper,
And that got even worse when we went to 4.
But with that 3-4-3, and I moaned about it last week, I'm going to moan about it again, it's the complete lack of movement which is really stifling us, because those three up front are just stood static constantly. And when you stood static, it's easy to defend against. And what's happening is we can't get out from a defensive position, so Leicester is squeezing. And those three are just, because they're stood there and then they're dropping deeper, we just get into a cycle whereby we drop pretty much into our own half and Leicester can dictate the game. And the problem again is that there's nothing in that, usually it's the final third, but in this time it's Leicester's half whereby there's no link up. There's no. Van La Parra found Depoitre with a great ball for that one-on-one. It was a really good piece of play from Van La Parra. But in terms of a plan of what we've got, there's no link up between those three. And
so in terms of link up, then we're going to end up edging back to the subject we weren't going to talk about, aren't we? So it's about picking your players in it and picking the opponent and picking the time. I mean, you can't legislate for the rank, bad, abysmal defending on the first goal to get caught out so naively at this level so early in a game when you've been in front as well.
All three of them.
It's just criminal. But the first lead to the second to the third, and you could literally see the confidence just sap away on Saturday, and they couldn't wait to get off that pitch from it being 2-1 onwards. They just couldn't wait to get out of there.
Again, with regards to the static movement, we've scored again from a set piece, and we've created 1 or 2 chances from open play, but not enough. And people are again calling for Alex Pritchard, Kosi, and he came on. It was probably given a tough intro. We were 2-1 down, I think, at the time. I would switch formation, and everyone had geared up for a 3-4-3. So to throw him on in that and criticise him is not fair.
I think if I were Pritchard, obviously, people are hinting what could have gone on, and we touched on it last week behind the closed doors, but it felt very much like the Stoke game. I mean, we threw him on. It was almost like a bit of a Mickey take in my eyes, and yeah, he had absolutely no chance of changing that game as well. I mean, you touched on it there, Neil, but could not get whatsoever. We had to make a change and be more positive, but Congolo off?
No, we all love Schindler, we all love Zanka, but
it was on a yellow card. That's the only thing I can think of why he went. But
if when you're chasing a game, you leave your most solid base on the pitch, and so to sub Congolo or me, unless his legs hanging off, I'd never sub him. He's sort of the talisman from the back, innit? Lad's just different class. So to sub him was just a bizarre decision for me.
Yeah, I really walked out of there proper down. I mean, what a ground that is. It's just a graveyard for us. I was lucky enough to be there when Mark Lillis got us, that cup win. But after that, we've just been absolutely battered by plenty of goals and things and that as well. And really disappointing. And you want to look on the positives. I mean, we'll come on to probably in a minute a table from I've pulled out from 6 games in this time last season. But ultimately, it's just, you can't. I hear people getting raged with opinions that Huddersfield. When we got back on the course, the driver said that Radio Leicester said Huddersfield are the worst Premier team we've seen at the King Power Stadium in the last 12 to 18 months, and you couldn't argue with that, could you? We were so slow.
Apart from the second half of more there last season.
Yeah, but I heard someone say we've scored
last year. To be fair,
I think Sky comments said that Huddersfield scored too early or that, but God, do we have to score after 92 minutes to win a game? Is it as bad as that?
There's no such thing as a bad time at scoring a goal for me.
No, mate, that should have been the catalyst. But like you said, Matt, and that's the thing I noticed, it was almost like an arm wrestle. We just got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and ultimately ended it in like most of our games have been, where they just dominated with possession. And we had the chance to go back in front, but disappointingly, it was just, very predictable and disappointing. I thought the fans were good on Saturday. I know, Matt, you had a different opinion, but
I wouldn't say they were bad. I think I was just sat in a particularly bad moany area, and we weren't as loud, I didn't think.
I took a video, and like I do on at the end on Saturday with the fans, and the noise of Huddersfield and Huddersfield, it sounded really impressive to say that we'd just been beaten again.
Probably in the car park at that time as well.
Yeah, maybe. But I thought the fans stuck with them. I thought they were pretty good on Saturday and feeding on scraps. Never mind Mounier and Depotre. The fans are feeding on scraps at the moment.
No, that's right. And you looked at social media, Neil, and one person that they're looking at to make a difference is Alex Pritchard. And we talked about him at great length last week. I did try and have a look at some stats, because there is, for me, that I quite like that 3-4-3 in terms of it frees Billing and Moy up a little bit more than what the 4-2-3-1 does to get forward and do things. And so you kind of think, where does Pritchard fit in? And I've always thought Pritchard's got really good delivery. He is a number 10, but can he maybe play right? Could he do any better than what Kachunga did on the day at Diakabi? And I had a look at his crossing statistics, and he's got a crossing accuracy of 27%, which is pretty good, all things being told. And I had a look at the guy who usually plays right wing back, and he's put 121 crosses in over the course of this and last season, and we've got 1 goal from it. And it goes back to what you just said, Kosi, as well, about predictability, and we're so predictable. And one thing that I want, when we talked about Pritchard last week, one thing I said is when he gets the ball, he's all wrong for us because nobody moves. Again, it goes back to being static. And I had a look, and since he signed, there's 17 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist according to the Premier League website, but someone else has him at 2 assists. 5 chances created. And he's only put 1 through ball through in the time that he's been with the football club. As a number 10, 1 through ball, which shows you how static the strikers are. And that's the problem for me, is people are looking at him as a white knight who's going to come and save our season, but what's he got to work with?
The problem that we're building with Pritchard is that he's now seen as almost the saviour of this season to get him in and change it round.
I don't think it's going to happen.
But now, well, whether it does or it doesn't, I think the pressure on Pritchard himself is growing each week that we have a bad result and that he's not involved.
But what was O'Neill, though, were another guy, ironically from Norwich, great season for them last season, James Maddison, who looked absolute class. He looked the precision with his goal, he would, track the play. He's been England under 21s. To me, he's going to end up with Chilwell in the senior side. He looked everything. I was thinking, wow, we've on the wrong guy here, but we had the guy. That Norwich fans were raving about that. Even Tottenham fans clapped on the pitch, so obviously he must have left a bit of a memory with them in his short spell there. But it's so frustrating. I don't want to go on about it again. We touched on it last week, but James Maddison were class on Saturday, and I'm thinking, I wish we had a player like that. But I think we've got him. It's called Alex Pritchard.
I don't think he's in the same class, to be honest. I generally don't. I think he's a good player. He's a nice little technical player, but he's not our Zaha.
I just
he's
think
not our Maddison.
the time's come for me just to...
He's not going to do any worse if you throw him in.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can judge him. We've never seen him enough of him.
Get worse.
He's made 17 appearances. We're judging Maddison.
We were
on
on
3 or
about
4.
We did that last week, we split with sub appearances, etc. It's very, very limited.
It's something like 14 starts, though. There's enough games for me. If we can say Maddison's a great player after 2 or 3 at Leicester, I'm sure we can say
18 minutes ago on Saturday. 18 lousy minutes. Rubbish.
When it was game over.
But again, it goes back to a point as well about how you're right, Neil, in terms of pressure. And I think Town fans do. I think we've all got a habit of building players up when they're not playing and they all of a sudden become twice as good as what they actually are.
Absolutely, yeah.
And for me, he's not a saviour, but he's technically a good player who can maybe create something.
It'd be nice just to see a point of difference.
Yeah, just throw him in.
Just something a little bit different. I mean, we've seen bits of Diakabe. I'll be honest.
I'm reserving.
I think unsure's probably the best word to use at the moment.
He seems to be his preferred one rather than Benza, doesn't he, at the moment, if someone's going to come on.
And Benza, we've not... Well, we saw him Benza for, about 10, 15 minutes against Palace when we were up against it.
The one thing that... Because obviously we had not the greatest view at that ground and had a bit of a drink as predicted on here last week, but the way Jimmy Vardy pulled away from Zanka, it made it look like he had the edge on him before. But when I watched it, I'm just thinking, Zanka, just haul him down, be nasty, do something, get a cynical foul. Because a few people debated with me on the Twitter, said he'd been sent off, and I'm not so sure he would. Maybe he would have done with that ref. But it's not the point for me. He's gone, goodbye. I'm not going to do anything about it. And it's just like that acceptance, and that, to me, is somewhere we're at the moment. I know someone cheekily put, well, that worked well with Johnny Ogg, but all I'm saying is I want a team that's want to scrap and fight. We've lost the ball, fight back. That was Wagner's Huddersfield a bit ago.
And that would have stopped a goal.
Yeah, it would, and people said it game over egg anyway. It wasn't. 75 minutes gone. Well, who knows? We could have come back. So, but it's just like, he's gone. He's going to score. I don't like to see that, mate. I don't like it.
Right, Kosi, you have a league table you want to discuss.
I do. I'm just... we've seen some quite amusing things on social media, some various efforts to try and keep spirits up and what have you and stuff. So this is my attempt to do it. I know you can pull it to bits either way. So I pulled up a table after 6 games, like we are this season. Obviously, we're the strongest team at the moment because we're holding everyone up. But yeah, this time last year we were 8th. We played 6 games, we'd won 2, drawn 3 and lost 1, and we were set on 9 points. I think the interesting thing on this table is that the bottom 3 at the time, Crystal Palace, which probably everyone knows, lost 6 out of 6 at this point. Bournemouth, second bottom, lost 5 out of 6 with 3 points, just won 1 game. And West Ham, 4 points out of 6 games. So you're looking obviously at the 3 that went down at this stage. Stoke at 5 points on 15th. West Brom, amazingly, were 10th. With 8 points. I think what I'm trying to say is that it's not at the end of the world.
It's not a done deal by any stretch.
No, but I suppose a counter argument, as I was mentioning, you look at them 3 at the bottom, West Ham, Bournemouth, Palace. You all knew at the time that they surely got to be better than what they were. a lot more firepower, goals in them and that as well, something that we're kind of lacking. And again, it just comes down to our signings, lads. I just honestly believe that is where it's going to be won or lost this season. You mentioned about, Pritchard maybe in the big white hope. With Ramadan Sobey, it's a massive ask for a guy who probably didn't do brilliant at Stoke last season, but we're seeing him in the gym and what have you. But for me, I think whether we stop up or not, it's going to be a ball about getting anything out of Alex Pritchard and these new signings, because I refuse to believe we've hardly seen any of them, but there's no way we can spend this money and they just give us what they've got so far. But it's concerning. There's no doubt about it. And I just look and think it's not the end of the world, but you look at these 2 home games coming up, wow, you couldn't ask for any worse, really. Maybe Man City, but Tottenham and Liverpool. So Burnley have bounced back into form. I suppose I tried to make this a positive thing, but it's not. It's easy to look at the bottom and think getting depressed, but I'm just looking and thinking, when is it going to spark, Neil? When's it going to spark, mate? The evidence is damning at the moment.
It's just tough times, and I think this is probably the most downbeat pod that we've done by an absolute country mile so far. I think the defeat on Saturday's affected us all a bit, really. I thought
it was the traffic for me. Oh.
It was just a bit of a shocker, and with Tottenham coming up, obviously not easy. Then you got Burnley away, who were just starting to turn around a bit after getting knocked out of Europa League.
But
and
maybe it's just going to be one of those moments. Maybe I know Man United's a bit different last season because we'd had the points in the bag and they did have that feel-good factor. But maybe just some miraculous.
It can happen.
You never know, mate.
It can happen.
Yeah.
All it takes is Harry Kane to hit post and time to score another billing long throw corner routine and make sure we keep doors shut at the other end.
I watched a bit. Happen. I watched a bit of their game in Brighton. You could maybe argue they're a bit better than what we are at the moment, but they were in front. They were, looking as though if anyone were going to win it with them. But again, the one thing that pops out here, we saw it less on Saturday, but Eric Lamela, absolute stunner, just clinical finish. It was just an half chance.
Yeah,
and that's what they've got that we haven't. So it is. They'll come up. They'll think they're going to win easily, but. I just
that can work in our favour on Saturday, though, for me.
Yeah.
That could very well work in our favour.
But are we going to do anything different setting up wise? Or, we mentioned Mooney and Potter, that ain't going to happen, hopefully. But I don't know. Maybe we'll sling and Benz on from the start, go for it. Or because we all know what happened to Tottenham last season, didn't we? We fought fire with fire.
You can argue that Tottenham last year is probably where our tactical regression has probably stemmed from. And Brighton are a really good example as well, because Brighton, what Chris Hughton's done there, he's done a really good job, but they've never wavered from their MO. They've come up playing a certain way, they've continued to play a certain way throughout. And you look at the table now, we're bottom of the league, 2 points. It's no way a done deal that Huddersfield Town are going down. We can stay up. No. But for me, it rests on David Wagner going back to what made Huddersfield Town during 2016-17 and the first half of last year, whereby we got in people's faces and we were aggressive. And we're still aggressive to a degree, but we just need to be more on the front foot, more willing to engage than run away, like, we talked about the third goal at Leicester. And it's a big ask, but you look at Brighton and they've never wavered. And
I think what may be interesting to me, Matt, is that we're going to be getting to this territory now where we went to Everton and the point's a good point. And you could maybe say the same against Burnley, but the longer we go without winning games, you're going to have to do something a little bit different. We'll obviously cover Burnley next week, but I'd like to see us go there and have a bit of a go. And we're going to have to soon do something different. And this kind of cautious approach is, points away are not going to be good enough. So unless we start winning, I know it's an obvious thing to say, but to me, is he going to abandon something, or you're just kind of saying bring back what we had? I think it's just getting to that dangerous territory now where it's not, obviously we can stay up, but points at Burnley and probably going to need to be, probably going for it and trying to get 3.
The only thing I'd say is that if Huddersfield Town are to stay up, this would be Wagner's biggest miracle so far. He's already done 2, and this third one for me would outweigh both of them.
It's a big call to ask for 3 on bounce, isn't it?
It is, but the guy's capable.
Oh, absolutely. And for the people who were saying Wagner out, not for me.
Get in the seat.
Not for me. My example would be Burnley when they were struggling. Got relegated under Sean Dyche, didn't panic, kept him, came back up, built, and gone from strength to strength since. So it's.
I remember we bet him, Neil. I think, God, trying to.
Ollie
Theo
Norwood
Robinson,
scored.
or Ollie Norwood. I think it
Ollie
might be Theo
Norwood.
Robinson or someone, that ilk. But yeah, and it was a Tuesday night and we won, and they were Daesh. I remember the phoning and what have you, and that's it. He's took them as far as he can go, and obviously the rest is kind of history. But this is the thing. I honestly, I don't think changing the manager would do any good at all. I can't even believe we're even speaking about it. But
Who would we get, though?
Exactly, man.
Who would we get?
Who
Clement?
would you want?
Exactly. And if we go down and you want someone to take us back up, who would you want? David Wagner.
It's an absolute no-brainer for me. And anybody who's saying Wagner out, sort yourself out. It's just-
Everybody
that's
gets
not an
frustrated,
option.
don't they?
Yeah.
And things come
We're
out
all
wrong
frustrated,
sometimes.
And I'll be honest, I think that's probably come across more in this podcast than any other
Yeah,
one. We're all
absolutely.
frustrated, but for calling for a change of a manager, thankfully, we've got a sensible man in charge who won't make that decision.
you knew the drill, though, Neil. Once Schindler got his penalty, we all thought one season, and I think this is where the argument is at the moment, because there's the people that are, like probably we remember the Maxfield away and all this carry on and stuff. But there's people, and maybe rightly, saying, well, hang on a minute. Does that mean we just have to accept kind of second best and that as well? Because I'm chilled with it all, to be honest with you.
I think I sit somewhere sort of getting splinters, to be honest. Because
They're both kind of fairish comments in
because it's
both
you got
extremes,
people
aren't they?
who are saying, like you say, about should we just accept where we are because we've been good for a couple of years? And then you got the other argument saying,
Why
how
should
can
we
you
accept-
possibly
yeah, why should we
vary
accept this,
away
yeah.
from that when he's done so well for the last couple of years? I sort of sit somewhere in between. Not that I'm not advocating Wagner. I love him. He stays for me. If we went down, we tell lower points and Derby went down. If we stay with those points, he still stays for me. He's the best man to take us on again next year. I just hope that something clicks for him, that we either have a bit of a change of look, a bit of a change of how we go about it, maybe.
Yeah. It
And
could
that's
just be a
all it is.
deflected goal,
That's all-
and
yeah,
it just
absolutely.
and it changes
Yeah,
the whole. It lifts the
Somehow
whole
off
squad.
somebody's ass and can change the whole season. It is that simple.
Absolutely.
But Wagner out's
it's
ridiculous.
I don't think the trouble is
crazy.
social media is a bit of a battlefield. It's like anything in sport. If you're not winning, you're getting people sounded off. And to be fair, people paying good money and etc. But it is. I felt down on Saturday. I didn't want to put any reactionary posts. I kind of stayed clear from even getting involved with Radio Leeds. But it didn't surprise me to see some of the posts that are on there. And the trouble is, it's a bit of a, it's because people are just saying, well, I'm going to, remember how good it was and stuff. And I kind of did that last year, but I'm kind of just...
Social media amplifies everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out to wind town fans up for a reaction as well. I mean, we've talked about Adrian Durham before. He'll be in there sticking it in.
Yeah.
How Robbie Savage gets a gig with BBC
Shambles.
annoys me. He's
Neil, you were getting mad about people tagging players in, though. That's funny. It's proper low.
I hate it. It's
That's
the
horrible,
one
isn't
thing
it?
that I absolutely despise is people atting players directly on Twitter to tell them how bad they've been, how poor they've been, they shouldn't be anywhere near our club, leave, this, that and the other. I just think it's disgraceful. I just don't understand it. Have a pop by all means.
It happens everywhere, doesn't it?
Moan
Not to-
about somebody, do whatever you want, but to at somebody directly, end of the day, these lads are doing a job. We're widely recognised as one of the weakest sides in this Premier League, and that's not playing us down, that's a fact. That's just a plain, simple fact. We all knew that was going to be the case when we came up. And these lads, whatever anybody thinks, are out there trying the best. And you can say they're not, you can argue that all day long, but you've got to trust that they're out there giving their best. But atting people and to tell them how bad they are and try and get support for your argument and then spelling players' names wrong to incorporate certain words and what have you. I'm sorry, but no, pack it in, leave Twitter, don't be a pillock.
Because usually what we do is... Because, Neil, I noticed you sent out a tweet, didn't you, on Saturday after the game, just looking for a bit of reaction. And I did notice the reaction we got after the game on Saturday is night and day away from what we get on a Tuesday morning if we ask for it, because people do... Football's an emotive sport,
It's
isn't
an
it?
emotional
It's sad,
response
lads. I
straight
mean,
after.
remember our little gathering after Manchester City? I found that a real eye-opener and kind of respect for, kind of your Jeff Shreveses and what have you, who put a microphone under a Mourinho who's spewing when they're not beating Wolves. And we would be in battle with Man City and where the emotions running high. We'd it's really, really difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think on the keyboard and stuff, I mean, I didn't listen to Radio Leeds Funny. I had a Leeds fan who tweeted me, says, because I put a post out, kind of saying, we're there, whatever division, but it says you're in a minority if you heard some of the chat on Radio Leeds, demands to be entertained. I think some of these callers weren't at Bury on a wet Tuesday night in League Two. Many forgotten where you've come from.
You made your own entertainment back then, didn't you?
Modern football fans. But again, we've kind of touched on that, and it's frustrating, but I think it depends what you're in it for, Neil, doesn't it? There's some people who are in it just to win. I'm not a win at all cost merchants, but I do like to be entertained.
I mean, it's funny. You
want to be
you don't watch Town for a combined whatever. No. However many years us three have watched Town for. If you turn up for the win, you turn up to have a day with your mates, to have a good. I mean, I don't drink before a game. I drive, so but I turn up and I can remember being sat there against Swindon or whoever, surrounded by the same people where we sit on Kilderbank, and we just have a good crack. Whether we're playing Swindon, whether we're playing Man U, it's all about that for me. And if you win and you're playing well, brilliant. But I'm still going to go a week after if it's been awful and we've lost. So I get the entertainment thing. I get it. It is an entertainment. It's what you're paying for.
People go for different reasons, don't they?
But if you go to football expecting to win and expecting to be entertained, you're watching the wrong game.
It's interesting, right? Like Everton, I remember, their fan, they won all, and they were like walking out 85, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it's like the game's in the balance, but for some people, it were like,
they got up on a corner as they
well.
got given a corner.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It
is. But again, it just proves that some people's like, even if they won, it's like, well, I'm not getting what I want to see. I'm not happy with. And they're entitled to do it.
It's only Huddersfield.
It's all very odd.
There'll have been a lot of that involved.
Yeah,
in that.
absolutely.
I'll read a few tweets out. I've got a few in front of me from the game on Saturday as well, and there's some good ones actually. So Alfie Kennedy's, I think the way Alfie's sent this is really good because he sent it in the heat of the moment, and it's a really sensible one. We played well first half. I think people are overreacting with the starting formation. We created chances, and the goals were down to individual errors. If he thinks we can win the game, if Depoitre puts that away, and we're just in desperate need of a match winner like Maddison and Zaha, and that's a really good tweet. Is that?
Yeah. Definitely.
Thanks, Alfie, for doing that. And Watson as well's sent in. He's a little bit more different in terms of that. He's mentioned that it comes down to formation for him. He thinks the wingers are a bit more orthodox and perform better as orthodox wingers. And then Pritchard as a number 10 and wants 4-2-3-1 because he thinks it's a better balance for us, which, again, is fine. It's subjective. I like the 3 because it stops the running through the middle, but 4-2-3-1 from an attacking sense does make sense.
Opinions without slagging individuals off.
Yeah, these are great
for
tweets.
That all day long.
Yeah, great tweets, and Graham Ellis as well tweeted in. I think he's after a job next to Robbie Savage, isn't he, on 5 Live? He's got the looks already, hasn't he? So, yeah, so Paul Dobbins said Pritchard debate's a good listen to, rumoured to be Town's highest paid player. From what I know that's not true, Paul. Doesn't get a look in. He's the player that can create things excuse me, in a spark around the box. And again, that's another point, because Pritchard, you would expect, can turn on something, dink something into the box, and we can score from it. Dean Ball says Moy's been poor recently, but I thought Moy was really good against Crystal Palace, but he didn't have a great game, did he, against...
It was chalk and cheese. It was very, very good against Palace and not so good Saturday.
Yeah, and a couple of people mentioning the wingers, and Jody Calvert said, still feel we've not seen enough of Diakabi and Benza and Sobey, which again is another sensible comment because they've come in and they've not really had chance to get the beak wet, so to speak, have they? She mentions Colin Quiner actually, but the way it's going with the wide men, Colin's going to be back in soon.
Yeah, we've not seen enough from the wingers, but it's disappointing. And
is Colin the answer?
No,
I don't think he is. He's a great guy, and some of the stories I do like the Colin Quiner one.
You can just tell he's a genuinely
great bloke, isn't he?
Top fella.
Yeah,
and what he's done for us since he came.
If you could wish one player to be Premier League class, you'd want it to be Colin and Kachunga. They're both sort of really good characters.
I think what we've seen in Diakabi so far, I think is definitely dividing the fans. Obviously, the tackle that started that gave away the free kick for the second goal Saturday and really ended him.
It was a touch, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, his touch.
For Leicester fans, they ended him.
Yeah, but I think until we've seen him with a decent run of games, and Benza, I think it's safe to say none of us know anything about him.
I don't think he knows what's about him. He
No.
kind of comes on and looks a bit confused, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he doesn't speak language either, does he? So I
No,
think
it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah.
Again, one thing we kind of we gloss at, we don't really talk about is these guys have moved from a different country, and it takes some settling in as well.
Well,
it's not like they've come
last
from
season when we were getting
Bradford.
absolutely slated at start of season from after Palace match onwards for being lazy, for being this, for being that, for being other.
carrying an injury for
But
a while.
he got injured and we're carrying that for a while. Then he went out for a while. I believe he's only 21. Moved abroad on his
23.
own.
Yeah,
his
he's young,
own
23.
house,
Yeah, 22.
got burgled, etc., etc. It's that's some baptism moving to a new country. Plus the expectation of being,
And he had,
an 11.5 million pound player.
and as he was moving over, there was someone, I think it was the president of Montpellier, died, and apparently was quite close to him as well.
Was that the delay when he signed?
Yeah,
Didn't
he went over there and
because he
to
like
the
a
funeral.
father figure for
yeah,
him, so.
and he's a player I like a lot. Is Mounier, but he hasn't scored this season, and if quite rightly, Depoitre was given a chance. So, but he'll be back, and no doubt he'll bag a few at some point. But
we need him.
so moving on from, so thanks for everyone for getting in touch with Twitter, and to be honest, cheered me up slightly because I was going on a bit of a negative downward spiral there. So I'm snapping out of that now. And one thing that always makes me snap out of my negative spiral, Neil, is our new feature. So Neil, you've been on social media Whopper Watch this week. Are you going to reveal to everybody what you've found?
We have indeed been on Whopper Watch, and this has been, I know it's only the second one, but this has been, I'm expecting this to be probably the easiest one we've ever done. An honourable mention first for a Newcastle fan who, following on from their obsession with net spend over the last year or so, one Newcastle fan came up this week with the best tweet I've seen this season, in fairness, about how Rafa is a footballing god because their goal difference, despite playing apparently harder teams than Town and Cardiff, keeps them firmly above us in 18th place. Also in the relegation zone.
It was, we've lost to these 3 teams, they've lost to these 2 teams.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Which was a bit bizarre.
Ridiculous, but their goal difference is -4 or 5 and ours is 11.
So the net spend Whoppers have become the goal
net
difference
spend are now
Whoppers.
the goal difference Whoppers.
Right.
So that was highly amusing for me this week. But we had a clear standout winner, and any Town fan that's followed social media, particularly our local, I'll call it a paper, local paper, will have come across this particular cretin over the last 18 months or so. A totally unprovoked tweet he put on a few days back saying, had a great birthday with a laughing face, with a picture of Town bottom of the league.
When did he put it on, Neil, after the game? Does it give a time or?
7 minutes past 11 at night, so he clearly had a couple of shandy baths with his tea. And then somebody had questioned it, had a bit of a go back, and he said, because he had not used capitals, and somebody responded, and he put, how about this for capitals? And then in full caps, relegation. So he'd clearly started losing the plot and had another shandy by then. And then he's tried to balance it out a bit and got it epically wrong with this tweet. He's put, funny how I arrived in Huddersfield and HTFC.com immediately went up. As soon as I leave, they start to drop, and on my birthday, they go bottom. It's going to be a long, hard season, I'm afraid. Hashtag full circle. Hashtag life is strange. Hashtag up the town. And then somebody replied again and said, why have you left? Because you're a shocking journalist. To which he's replied, sadly, it's too much of a small town mentality meant it wasn't ready for 21st century journalism. if Blake's form of reporting is 21st century journalism,
Doesn't use 3-letter words and clickbait.
please rest in peace journalism, because that is the end. So a comfortable winner for this week's Whopper of the Week is Blake the Whopper Welton.
Things you say, your past just give you away. The things you say, you're unbelievable. you're so unbelievable.
He's clearly got an agenda. I mean, I put a tweet because I laugh at myself, and I don't take life too seriously in case you haven't noticed. But there were a funny thing on Friday when I think there were points fairly between Leeds and Huddersfield on the chain line. So I seized on that. There's been a points fairly since August, but the first person to retweet it were Blake Welton. So to me, he's obviously there's an axe to grind there.
There's some salt, isn't there?
Well, let's be honest. His downfall. I mean, how you can come across so epically badly in arguably the best season in our modern history when we got promoted to the Premier League.
He had the easiest job in the world.
Comfortably easiest job. Just report on a very good, very successful, not only
in the
football
best season
club,
of our
but
lives.
The season, the whole thing, the town was buzzing.
And you're a legend.
And he tried his best to make that sound awful, screaming for Mark Hudson to retire and this, that and the other. And
He's
just
so
basically
division between
picking
fans, didn't
spats
he?
with fans, and anything negative he got, he retweeted it, he milked it, and this has been coming a long time. And sadly, we report that he's actually lost his job at the Examiner now.
Despite him saying left, I did hear on the grapevine, whether this is true, I'll always, put my hands up if not, but apparently it wasn't of his choosing that he left.
Good. I wouldn't wish anybody out of work, but what an absolutely cretinous individual. So good riddance.
The only thing I will say is that some of the diatribe he got was a bit over the top, and I agree with some of the stuff he said afterwards, but I don't have as much sympathy with him because of the way he's gone about it.
As you are on the local team, when during his time here, it's probably been, like we say, the most successful period.
How do you mess that up?
To come across so badly in that period is, that's monumentally bad, isn't it?
I don't understand how he did it. And clickbait, little articles that intimate one thing and don't actually say anything in them.
Yeah.
The internet journalism is...
It's gone downhill badly, isn't it?
But it is, I mean, it's like I saw something the other day on the Evening Post when someone had died and someone put like a tearful emoji, and it's just like, you can't be putting stuff like... It's almost like they've...
It's a bit disrespectful.
People left college and what have you and just trying to make a name for themselves, put clickbait, but as we've seen, kind of, it's almost like the talk sports school of journalism is just kind of
when you're reporting
there.
and you've got any kind of emoji involved in it at all, I'm sorry, but you're not reporting, are you? You don't get that. I mean, obviously, he's a good friend of yours, but Richard Sutcliffe is comfortably the best local reporter around here.
Because he'll teach you something you didn't know half the time because I've had it. But you'll read his report on a Monday and what have you and think, wow, forgot about that, or that's a great point, or something. But
it's
very
always
rare now.
balanced. It's never up one way. It's never down the other way. It's always very sensible, very level-headed. But like you say, he does the hard yards. He's at Bradford tonight watching Everton under 21. So he's a proper old school reporter.
Yeah, it's really, really
and
good.
He's well worth a read. So.
But he's observational though as well. He doesn't just say what happened. He spots things that you probably wouldn't have noticed, and he educates. The best journalists for me educate. They don't lure you in with false headlines for you to click on advertisements. It's just, for me, the two I like the most are national ones are Henry Winter and Jonathan. I can't remember how you pronounce it. It's like Jonathan Liu, isn't it? Those for me are really, really top class. I'll read anything they put. They're
Henry
great.
Winter did the piece on David Wagner a couple of weeks ago.
Henry Winter could write about Brexit and I would read it.
Yeah, he is very, very good as Henry Winter.
He is, but there's a... I think, Kosi, you nailed it with the TalkSport thing, and there seems to be a university of Whopperage where all these people are coming out with first-class honours.
You want to learn something, though. That's just what I mean. It's like that Paul Mercer thing last night, the debate. Didn't my head in, because you're looking for insight and to learn. It's like, you were like, Luka Modric, so Paul, he's won the best award. He's a top player. I could see at Tottenham and against Croatia, against England in the semi-finals, he was really good. So... it's clearly not done any homework. I can't. He really roused me because I know so many people who deserve, maybe in my opinion, a chance to broadcast all right at a high level, and they'd work, they do their own work, they work hard, and they don't get half of the platform. Some of these on that Moose guy. I mean, wow.
He needs to stick to reading the news.
The thing is, though,
but he loves himself, and people give him this.
They've done
image.
that piece this weekend, haven't they? That Henry Winter replied to actually about his Newcastle, a big club, this, that, and the other, and It was clearly
Kosi's favourite subject.
It was clearly done though to get a reaction.
Yeah, and it worked.
And then he's come out today with some kind of thinly veiled apology, which
He went
probably that. Let's be honest, that's all part of the plan. They've got the ridiculously.
They've got the eyes and the
Yeah,
ears.
they've got the
haven't they?
ridiculous reaction that they were looking for. It would have, as soon as he came out with that, it would have talk sport special. And Blake Welton,
Don't
the
fall
fact
for
that
it.
he's not even good enough to get there, just about sums him up.
Let's move on from
Whoppers.
graduates of the University of Whoppers
Porridge, yeah.
and move on to the game this Saturday. Bit of an easy one.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to miss it, which is I'm not happy about, but needs must. But it's a tough game, but it's one of those where it could be a season-changing game. And I think if you don't, you've got to go positive. We've had the bit of a downbeat start to this podcast.
Watford had a go at them and beat them.
Yeah.
They're fallible.
Brighton were unlucky against them not to get anything.
They're not on the greatest form. They're fallible.
No.
They should beat us, but they're not.
They've
They're not
had
impossible to
they've
beat.
had one very good performance this season where they took Man U to cleaners. But
Johnny
other
Ogg back
than that-
in. Johnny Ogg back in. Johnny Ogg back in. Let's kick. Let's show some fight. Get him back.
I agree.
Yeah, I think in a game like Tottenham, you want Jonathan Hogg
Johnny
back in,
Ogg
don't you?
must play.
But who do you drop? Do you drop Billing or Moy, or do you play all three?
I don't even think it's a case of dropping anybody. I just think it's a case of in a game like that making
Well, you have
sure.
to get Hogg back in. Don't
No, but I don't call it dropping. I call it changing,
Rotating.
rotating.
Okay, fair,
I
fair.
don't particularly like the dropping phrase.
No, that's fair. Who do you rotate out then?
I think we might see one of the wider players disappear from the starting lineup. I think Billing has done more than enough to keep his shirt for me.
Yep.
I think Aaron Moy, Palace at home, he was back to his best. Leicester didn't have a great game,
We'll gloss over that.
but
one.
you've got to be brave to leave Aaron Moy out for Saturday.
If you're going to do anything
And I-
at Huddersfield Town, Aaron Moy has to play.
For
well,
me,
doesn't
all
he?
three of them play Saturday.
Okay. And for me, I think you have to play Van La Parra in these games as well because he gets you up the pitch.
Van der Parra's got to start.
the
think,
final third, his decision making is
Kachunga probably
ropey,
the one
but
who,
I think Kachunga's more than likely the one who will miss out.
which means Chris Lerver would have to drop out.
Depends how he plays it, doesn't it? Depends if he goes flat back five.
I think he'll go 5.
Which I think he will.
It'll probably be
So I think you'll have Zanka, Schindler, Congolo. I think he'll start with Derm again. I think he'll start with Lerver again. I think that'll be your 5.
Lerver's again. Lerver, I thought played well against Leicester. I couldn't fault him again. It's a case of whether you go 5-3-1-1, isn't it, with Pritchard behind Depoitre or Mounier, or you pick Van La Parra and have
It's
a
all
bit of
ifs
width.
and buts. Let's be honest. We ain't got a clue what team's going to be on Saturday. But
It doesn't pick itself, does it?
No,
no.
and I think that's probably part of the problem at the moment is it don't pick itself. But hopefully, whatever goes out there puts in a town-worthy performance, and I just want to see. I'd love to see. I'm not there, but you want Town to just get in Tottenham's faces, make it uncomfortable. So if you stand off against these, they will football you to death. Absolutely football. It doesn't matter what formation you play, who plays. If you're not in the faces, they'll batter you. They'll just run you absolutely ragged. So I want to see Johnny Ogg rattling a few. I want to see Moy get in amongst. I want to see 3 centre halves get in amongst. Lerver for me has been one at picks for the last few weeks. I think he's got to keep his place, and I think he adds a bit of balance down left hand side. Also likes a tackle. I don't think his job will be getting forward as much this weekend, but we shall see. So
Yeah.
it's all to play for.
There's a number of cases, and I'm sure if you ask 10 people, not all of them would pick a different side, but you get 3 or
Pretty
4
much.
different combinations,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? So, I don't think it's the game we're going to win, I'm sorry to say. I think Spurs have probably got a bit too much for us. One guy who predicts us to win every week is Richard Kosmala.
I know, and I criticising Paul Merson and others, but no. Yeah, I think a reverse psychology this time. I think, I can't see us winning, but again, just that identity you were on about, Matt, earlier on, that fight, kick a few around and do what Brighton did, really. I mean, obviously, I want to try and get a more positive result, but I like what they did on Saturday. They really give it a go, and the crowd, can 1-on-1.
I think you'll see a turn. I think if Town start at home in the faces and getting in amongst them and making challenges hurt, and I'm not saying being dirty, just get in get in there and tackle a few sort of, shall we call them, wholehearted tackles, and just flatten a few of them and let them know that they're in for a tough ride. Straight away, that gets crowd on your side instantly.
I don't think Tottenham's keeper's all up to much. It's called Gazaniga, I think it's called. But obviously, Lloris has been in the headlines for the wrong reasons. But the big question is, can we get to test him? That's the thing.
When Town lose, I shut down from all forms of football. I don't watch any, so I didn't watch the Brighton Spurs game. So did Dele Alli play?
No, substitute. He came on, but
So he's
Lamella
potentially
came off
back,
the
isn't he?
bench and he scored as well. But I mean, their bench would be really strong on Saturday. But
To be fair, they could pick 3 reserves behind that striker and they'd all be decent, wouldn't they? So
I mean, Lucas has started the season really well, scored a great goal at Old Trafford, and you could go through all of that. Christian Eriksen, for me, that player.
These are games
last
though
year.
that Town players and fans should be excited.
If I would
for.
have played Saturday, Neil, I'd be like, wow, this
Yeah.
is my time here. I could make myself an absolute legend. And I suppose the big thing is getting hold of that ball, innit? Because when you're chasing it...
We don't want to see Harry Kane getting a standing ovation for being excellent again.
Not again, no.
We want to see Harry Kane slumping off.
Absolutely.
Sick of getting clattered, etc.
For me, Johnny Ogg back in, setting the tempo first 5-10
Johnny
minutes.
Ogg plays for me. No brainer.
Absolutely. It'd be interesting what kind of the mood the fans come in with and that as well. And I'd like to think they will really give it their all. And because let's be honest, most of the people are going to come in and think we're probably going to get nothing today. So to me, anything's
so
a
you're not to
bonus.
lose.
Nothing to lose. Let's have a go. And I just hope that none of this negativity we've mentioned on the social media can. I didn't personally had anything on Saturday, but I hope that it can maybe transfer its the positivity that we're knowing in it, because it's hard, isn't it, when we're losing and we're not seeing much attacking, we're not getting much of the ball to keep going, and much has been made of the South Stand, it goes quiet, etc. But I would back them this season. I think they've done a good job under tough circumstances with not much happening on the pitch. But why not? Can you imagine that Saturday if we well, maybe right. But honestly, honestly, Neil, the season would just erupt.
It would rock.
If I were Wagner, in that dressing room, I'd be like saying to that, lads, this could be the moment.
You want them bouncing off at walls before they leave that dressing room on Saturday.
Definitely, mate, and that as well. But ultimately, just give us everything that you've got on that as well. And
the lot.
Yeah, the big thing is obviously mistakes like last Saturday, as we obvious thing to say, but that anything like that, and we're going to be an end of a cricket score, to be honest with you. But let's hope we've got his mistakes out of the way, and a different mentality. I'd like to see Benton have a go on Saturday. I don't think he will, but let's just surprise him, do something different, and
I'll be
maybe
honest,
he could be a legend, mate.
I'll be honest. Apart from Johnny Ogg, I couldn't care less who he picks on Saturday. It's just about getting 11 out there to get in amongst them and putting a performance. And I know we go on about this Terrier spirit and the identity. For me, that's been lost this season. And I think if they can get even a half of that, 50% back of that Terrier spirit, I think that can go a long way to not necessarily getting a positive result on Saturday, but a performance that you can walk away and be proud of. That could change things.
Yeah,
I think what were interesting with the spirit on Saturday, if I can recall, let me get this right so I don't misquote anyone, but Lossell came over to the fans. I think Zanka came over to the fans.
Them two always do, to be fair.
Class acts, those two, aren't they?
Quite a few just kind of sloped off, but forget about the past. We can only change what's coming up in the future. And honestly, I'm abroad on Saturday, but I'm going to be determined to find a bar with it on. And it's come on, Town, surprise us, do something different.
I'll be travelling back, laid out in the back of a car with God knows how many staples in my leg. So
and then Sports Spot will come on.
grateful.
And a big shock in the Premier League today.
That'll do for me. You'd take a point now, wouldn't you?
Wow, would you ever? But
Yeah, of course you would.
You'd take a point.
is this the point where we play We Could Be Heroes just for one day and fade out the show? But
But it can happen. And go back to last season against Man U. Nobody.
And the two away games.
And the two at the end that sort of
I was gonna say something which you'd have probably looked at me a bit blank. You know, what's the weather forecast for Saturday? Because I remember that Man United game, there was a bit of a torrential downpour.
No, it's meant to be decent. Meant to be dry and get a bit warmer, so it's going to be decent.
Because that torrential downpour and 11 players getting at you, some players just kind of go, don't fancy this today.
Not
so
for me.
you kind of need something whereby Tottenham just go, do you know what? I don't fancy this.
Yeah, you do.
And hopefully it's Jonathan Hogg snapping at your ankles, trying to win the ball. And
the thing is, we have got the capability in that squad to get points. And I'd argue that all day long. As poor as this start at season's been points-wise and what have you, I still believe that there's points there for us. And it's just about getting that little bit of luck, getting a penalty, getting your free kick on edge of the box, getting the deflection, etc., etc. And that it can totally transform your season. And let's hope that I miss a fantastic 3 points on Saturday.
That pretty much concludes what we're going to talk about this week. So coming up in some future episodes, we should have a couple of things which some fans should hopefully find very exciting. So we'll have part 2 of our Whoppers and Weapons worst 11 team coming soon. We'll also have we've also got scheduled in an interview with a friend of yours, Kosi, Johnny Buchan. Is it Buchan?
Yeah, John's going to come on and kind of obviously been getting a bit of stick, shall we say, with radio leads and, who's on what frequency and the other stuff and that as well. So it'd be good to have Johnny on, obviously give his, side of the story, and that was also a bit of an exclusive for us, and also giving a bit of an insight on a guy who's obviously not really seen us in a few games this season, but spent most of his last few years in Sheffield. So it'd be interesting to get his opinion on Town as a kind of from an outsider, really, and that as well. So hopefully he'll be coming in on the back of a miracle against Spurs. But
I'd like to hear his story from Hillsborough in May 2017 if he was there as well.
I think what's funny about that, but he went to give me a lift home that night, but he had to wait so long for Carlos Carvalho that he'd have said it's better you make your own way home. So I managed to catch a lift off someone else, but old Carlos had his dream. But it'd be good to have Johnny on and hopefully get a few questions from some of the listeners as well. Keep it clean. So he's ready for the stick, though. He is.
I know. So I'll put a tweet out, and we'll come armed for Johnny. It's good of him to come on and do that as well. So with nothing left to do, Kosi, apart from you to sing us out, thank you for listening. Over to you, Richard Kosmala.
Take my hand, take my all. I can just see Russ follow me with his scarf out. And
He's got his earplugs
can't
in now.
help falling in love with this way. Fade it out, Matt.
I'm expecting a second verse.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Pate's got a chance. Pate scores! Jack Pate scores! Heffer's in there! Smith scores for Huddersfield Town! 3-2 Town! Boris Sherry, Danny Ward saves! Danny Ward saves! De Quattro's in, round De Gea! 2-0 Huddersfield Town! Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!